The Paranoid Cowboy, a funny story with a lesson about trust. Have you ever lived a day where you trusted nobody? Not even your own shadow? You walk into a saloon, and every smiling face looks like a lie. You try to sleep, but you keep one eye open. You saddle up your horse, and you whisper, "I don't even trust you, pal." Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Well, today, I'll share with you a story. A story about a cowboy who believed that suspicion was the only way to survive, until he realized that living without trust wasn't really living at all. But first, before we begin, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next story that might just change the way you see life. And now, let's ride into the Wild West. Part 1. Meet Hank, the most paranoid cowboy alive. In the dusty town of Dust Creek, there lived a cowboy named Hank One-Eye McGraw. Why did they call him One-Eye? Because Hank never fully closed both eyes at the same time. When he slept, one eye stayed open. When he ate, one eye scanned the room. And when he drank his whiskey, one eye stared suspiciously into the glass, as if the bartender might have poisoned it with horse manure. Hank believed that the West was a cruel, unforgiving place, and he wasn't entirely wrong. But Hank took it to another level. He trusted absolutely nobody. Not the bartender, not the preacher, not the sheriff, not even his own horse, Rusty. "Rusty's got shifty eyes," Hank would say. "One of these days, that horse'll sell me out to the bandits." The townsfolk thought Hank was funny at first, but then they realized he was serious, dead serious. Part 2. Hank's Rules of Survival. Now, Hank wasn't just paranoid. He had rules. Rule number 1. Never sleep with both eyes closed. Because in the Wild West, the moment you shut your eyes, someone's already reaching for your boots, or worse, your soul. Rule number 2. Never drink water unless you see someone else survive it first. "Water'll kill you quicker than whiskey," Hank swore. "Least with whiskey, you die happy." Rule number 3. Never answer when someone calls your name at night. "It ain't your mama," Hank said. "It's either a ghost or a drunk outlaw with a bad sense of humor." Rule number 4. Trust your horse, but not too much. You see, a horse'll save your life one minute and dump you in a cactus patch the next. The crazy part? People started listening to Hank. His paranoia was so convincing, some folks thought he might actually know something. But the truth was, Hank didn't know anything. He was just scared. Part 3. The Saloon Incident. One hot evening, Hank walked into the Dust Creek Saloon. He sat in the corner, hat low, one hand on his gun, one eye scanning the crowd. The piano man played a cheerful tune. A gambler shuffled cards at a nearby table. The bartender poured drinks with a smile. To most people, it looked like a normal night, but to Hank, it was a trap. "Too quiet," he muttered. "Too peaceful. Something's wrong." So when the bartender brought him a glass of whiskey, Hank froze. "Why's it so full?" Hank asked. The bartender blinked. "Because you paid for a full glass." "Too generous," Hank growled. "You're up to something." And with that, Hank tossed the whiskey out the window. It landed right on Sheriff Carter's boots outside. The sheriff stormed in. "Darn it, Hank! What in blazes?" But Hank had already flipped the table and dove behind it. "Ambush!" he shouted. "Everybody down!" The whole saloon erupted in chaos. Poker chips flew. Chairs toppled. someone fired a gun into the ceiling, all because Hank couldn't trust a glass of whiskey. Part 4. Rusty the Horse Strikes Back. After the saloon fiasco, Hank decided it was time to leave town. "Can't trust no one here," he muttered. So he saddled up Rusty, his horse. Now Rusty was a good horse, loyal, strong, patient. But even a horse has limits. Hank kept talking to him suspiciously. "Rusty, I know you're plotting. You and them coyotes been whispering at night." Rusty just blinked. "Don't play dumb. I seen the way you look at me. One day you'll toss me off a cliff, won't ya?" Well, that was the last straw. As Hank rambled, Rusty suddenly stopped, bent his neck, and bucked Hank straight into a mud puddle. The townsfolk watching burst into laughter. "There's your betrayal, Hank," one man hollered. "Guess Rusty had enough of your nonsense." For the first time in years, Hank was speechless. Covered in mud, looking like a drowned cat, Hank realized maybe, just maybe, he was the problem. Part 5. The Moment of Truth. Later that night, Hank sat alone by the campfire. The stars stretched endlessly across the desert sky. Rusty munched quietly on grass nearby. Hank finally sighed. "Rusty, maybe I've been too hard on you. Maybe the world ain't out to get me after all. Maybe I just didn't know how to trust." Rusty flicked his tail, like he'd been waiting for this apology his whole life. And for the first time ever, Hank closed both eyes. He slept soundly, with no fear of ambush, no fear of betrayal, and he woke up the next morning feeling lighter than he had in years. The lesson. Hank's story spread through Dust Creek. People still laughed about his paranoia, but they also remembered the lesson. Living without trust is like carrying a heavy saddle on your back every day. It wears you down. It makes you see enemies where there are none. And worst of all, it keeps you from enjoying the ride. Yes, the Wild West was dangerous. Yes, people lied, cheated, and stole. But what's the point of surviving if you never truly live? Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is not draw your gun, but open your heart. So, my friend, let me ask you, who is your Rusty? Who have you doubted for no reason, just because fear told you to? Remember, a life built on suspicion may keep you alive, but a life built on trust will actually let you live. If this story brought a smile to your face, or maybe a thought to your heart, don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might just change your life.